Hi everyone, it's Jan with What You Make It, and I am here with another card in our Get Your Christmas Cards Done Early card series. And this card is a card that I designed with the Gelli Plate. So many of you all have asked for some additional tutorials on that, so I thought this would be great. But I gotta tell you, I'm a little embarrassed. I have never done this in 4 years of doing videos, but as I was uploading the video from my camera to the computer, I actually erased it. So what I'm going to show you today is the exact same process. I did the cards on paper, but then I turned around and did some more prints on cloth, but I think you'll still get the gist of what we did. Here we go. So let's begin with the tools that you're going to need to complete this kind of project. You can use paper. I'm going to be using cloth today. In fact, I'm using white muslin cloth. I'm using the white because I want the colors to be really vivid. If you want more of a muted finished piece, I would do maybe the raw or the natural muslin, but I'm going to use white. And I'm going to use my Gelli Plate, and I'm actually going to use 2 brayers today. You could get by with one, but it just makes it a little easier to work with because I'm going to work with basically 2 areas of color, the sky and then the sand or the land kind of area. So I'm going to work with 2 separate ones, hoping to keep those a little more clean and crisp. I have chosen a palette of colors to work with. I'm going to, for the skies, I'm using, I don't even know what these colors are. This is China Blue, I believe, and Ultramarine and Desert Turquoise. Always loving turquoise. And then for the sand, I don't really want to use browns. I want there to be some brightness to it. So I'm using a cad yellow, a butterscotch, and a cad orange. And I think those will be kind of bright. I may actually even bring in some red. We'll see about that as we go along. And then I have these are from Martha Stewart. You can even create some of a comb like this with some fun foam and some scissors. I just want something to drag through and make some lines, maybe. I have those out. And I have some stencils, and I've got this was a bag of fruit came in that. And then this is that stuff that you put on your shelves to make things not slip on them. So I'm just looking for texture. So I've got some options with that as well. So let's get started. I think the first thing I'm going to do is start with a block of light and for the sky and for the sand. So I'm going to start with my lightest colors. I'm going to put that up here. I think I need to add a little white in with that just to maybe give it a little interest. Okay. And I'm going to use this brayer. And I'm just going to kind of be mindful of keeping it up here in the sky area. Okay? So I want to do that. Okay. Now we're going to come down here. I think I'm going to do this butterscotch down here. Now add a little white in with it. I'm going to work with my other brayer. So you can see we have kind of that mix there.
And now I'm just going to put some texture down here, and let's see, maybe do a little texture like this up here. Just touching that. It doesn't need to be solid everywhere. And let's put our cloth down, and we'll see what we get. I'll press a little harder here so I get down into material. Okay, so there's our first pull, and that's going to give us a nice background for us to begin to build with.
I'm going to speed this up just so that you can kind of watch the process, because I am making multiples of, I made multiples of the card, and I'm making multiples of this journal cover that I'm working on. And I want you to see that when you get started with your jelly prints, you actually have the ability to make multiples of something. So it's a great technique to use for doing your Christmas cards. So from now on, when we get to this point, I will be quiet and just let you listen to some music, and I'll come back and explain the next step.
Okay, I finished printing my first batch of the background with the sky and the sand. And before I go on to the next step, you can either just clean off your plate, spritz it with a little bit of water, but I love doing what they call a mop-up print, and that is where you let the paint that is on your plate totally dry. Mine is, it's a little tacky down here, but the rest of it is totally dry. This doesn't work if it's not totally dry. I'm going to go ahead and do it, but I'm just going to tell you, I don't think that this part is going to come up. So I'm going to do a high contrast color for this, and so for this I'm going to use some Prussian blue, and you want to put a goodly amount because we want a good coverage on here. And I'll go in here and just cover the entire plate. I'm just going to cover up all of that wonderful texture that we've been building up. And I haven't ever tried a mop-up print with cloth, so you'll get to see what I see. We're just going to put this down, maybe move it a little bit so that I get the whole thing on here, and press. And you actually want to press pretty good, because what we're basically trying to do is to get the wet paint to bond with that dry paint. And when we pull this print, I'm hoping that what we will see is that it pulls up that dry paint as well. Okay? That's what happens when I do it with paper. Like I said, I've never done it with cloth before, so we'll see. Ooh, it did get some of it. See, we got some of that coming up. That's cool. Let me just grab a piece of paper here. I'll see what we can get. If we can get a second one. Ooh, that's very cool too. Okay, that's going to go into my to be used later. Okay, so now I am going to spritz this with just a little bit of water so I can get most of the remaining off. use a scrap piece of cloth here. Doesn't have to be pristine because we're going to be working on building layers, right? Okay. One thing I am going to do is change out my piece of paper over here. And we're ready to move on to our next hole. And for this one, I'm actually going to just do one side of it at a time. I really want to give some definition and to the sky and to the ground. And because the sky is going to be darker, I'm going to do it last, so if I need to kind of clean up some areas, that will be possible. Okay, for the bottom, for the sand, I'm going to go in with my CAD orange and CAD yellow. You know, I just feel like I really want to use a little red too. So let's just add just a touch of red. Like I said, I'm not really going for true, I'm going for true desert, which would be tan or brown or whatever. I'm kind of wanting to do something vibrant and really visually appealing. Okay? Okay? So for down here, I am actually, what do I want? What do I want? What do I want? You know what? I think I want to put this down. Just touch it in a couple places, make sure there's contact. And what we're going to do is called a subtraction technique. And that is, I'm touching it with the stencil, making contact, and then I'm going to pull. What I need is, this is what I need. I need just a little something that I can make sure I've got the stencil down into the paint. Then I'm going to pull that up, and you can see it makes really nice texture. So now I'm going to put one of my pieces that I had printed before down. And pick it up. I like that. That's going to be nice. Okay, let's keep going. So I've got some metallic gold that I'm going to put on here. I think that will be pretty. I'm actually going to coat the whole plate, but my main goal is to pick up this down here on the bottom. I just put a little up there just for fun. Now let's put a piece of our cloth down. Okay, how gorgeous is that? I'm telling you, can you see all that shine? Gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous. Ah, that may be my favorite. Maybe my favorite one we've done. Okay, so that makes our plate clean enough. I'm going to clean up my brayers and get a clean piece of scratch paper over here and come back and let's work on this. So I'm ready to move on to the sky, and I have created a template just that has kind of a ground shape that I want. And I think what I want to do is put this in place while I'm putting the paint down, then pull it up, and that'll give me a nice crisp horizon line. At least that's what I think is going to happen. So I'm going to put this down, and I'm not going to use as much paint, obviously, because I'm just trying to do a little area. Shake this up a little bit. A little of that. That is Bahama blue. This is desert turquoise. I'm going to put just a touch of this ultramarine. I want it mostly to be turquoise. Can't get it up. Put a little of that. I'm going to put some white to just kind of keep it fresh. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to blend this out. And having this template lets me be a little bit more abandoned with that up. And for this, I think I'm just going to do some dots. Maybe some big dots. Yeah. Well, let's see. Let's see what we get. This down. I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, we're off and running. So I'm going to use this Tim Holtz stamp of the Three Wise Men. I like it because it's a solid image, and because I'm using acrylic paint, I really want something that's more solid as opposed to really fine detail. But because I'm going to be stamping on cloth with acrylic paint as opposed to ink, I'm going to try this and we'll see if it works. If not, I'm going to go get some ink and see if that works better. But because I'm doing that, I'm going to add some matte fluid medium to the paint over here. It has a tendency to dry when you put it on really thinly. I want to give plenty of color over here. And I'm using my brayer again to put the ink on so that I get more of even coverage. Just going to roll this on. And I don't want to give it a lot of time to dry, so I'm just going to go quickly, put it down, give it a good press, make sure there's contact with the material, and there we go. I like that. It's working for me. Picks up the texture that was underneath it. Cool. Okay, let's try another one. And before I get too much further, I'm going to go ahead and clean out any of the little places that the paint has built up, because if we just keep adding to that, eventually that's going to bleed and give me not very distinct And I apologize for all of these little gnats that are flying around and through the picture. I had my doors and windows open this morning, and apparently we have a little infestation. Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, I'm going to finish those off and I'll come back and show them to you.
So here are the two side by side. You can see the card that I made over on the right, or the card front. I have a little bit more work to do on that, and I actually did manage to keep the work that I did on it. But you can see they were done very similarly, just with a little bit of a different, I went with the more browns and tans kinds of things for the sand. And I also went ahead before I did the stamping and added in the moon back behind there. That was just another stencil that I actually did just on top of the prints after they were done. I didn't do the printing of that moon on the Gelli print. This cloth print that I've made, I'm actually have made it into a journal, and let me know if you'd be interested in seeing that process. I did record it and I haven't deleted it, so I can show you what I did with those from this point on out. But now I want to show you how I finished up these cards. You can see I have multiples of them, and I wanted to do some stars, so I took some of that gold metallic paint and just painted it on a piece of cardstock, and then I went and used this flower mound die from Memory Box, and then 2 paper tray ink dies that do different kinds of stars. And you see I got just tons and tons of them out of that one piece. You can see I have different sizes and shapes, and that's the stencil that I used to do the moon. And I went ahead and kept them because I can use them for so many other things. So to get the stars onto the background, I just put some quick dry glue out there and used my tweezers or a toothpick to put the glue on, and just put the stars in place. Again, every single one of these is going to look different. Even though the basic design is the same, every single one of them is different. And that's one of the reasons that I'm really loving doing this kind of project with the Gelli Plate, because you can get something that's totally unique every time you do it. And it's really, really simple, Simon. So I just took my time. That's a quick stick that I'm using to pick that up. That's by Lifestyle Crafts. But you can see here they all are. I have like 7 or 8 of them done and ready to go on card fronts. And I'm going to do that. I painted a little star, a larger star in the background as well. Added some gold to their crowns and a little bit of touchdown on the camels as well. So now I'm going to put the sentiment on these, and that is Peace on Earth, and I'm going to heat emboss it with some gold embossing powder. And I find when I'm doing this sort of thing that using that Martha Stewart stamp block, where you can kind of, it has a little feet on it, you can position your stamp over, make sure that you're getting it in the right place. So I heat embossed all of those, and it doesn't take long, but I went through and did all of those. You can see I'm doing this in an assembly line fashion. And when you're trying to do multiples of something, I found that that's really the easiest way to do it. Do all the steps. When you're doing particular step, do all the cards for that step. So here I'm putting some gold leaf around that edge just to kind of give it a final finished edge. And on the inside, I'm using craft cardstock, and I just wanted to put the 3 wise men having arrived at the manger to see baby Jesus, and another star up there in the corner, just to kind of give it a finished look. These are 6x6 cards, so I just used half of a 12x12 and scored that and folded it and then rounded the corners. really and truly, I'm so sorry that I did not manage to keep the footage where I was making this particular card, but I hope that you were able to see by the prints that I did on the cloth what that process was, because they were essentially the same. I just used paper on one and cloth on the other. I did go ahead and make this journal, so I may be back to share that with you. Hope you all have a great week, and we'll take some time for creative play. Appreciate you stopping by.